How you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're looking at Swamp Thing Volume 2, number 38. This is July 1985. Okay, this is part of the legendary Alan Moore and John Toddleben. Stan Walk is doing the art. John Toddleben's doing the inks. And John Toddleben doing anybody's inks just makes your art that much better. I mean, just look at the color. The color, look at the detail. Okay, so not too many, there's no words. You could just look at this art. Just look at this. And I love that sophisticated suspense. So this is a year of the Crisis on Infinite Earth, but Alan Moore did what Alan Moore wanted. So there was a couple little tie-ins in the comic itself of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but nothing really in the comic because Alan Moore, he didn't want to, and you don't argue with him. So just look at this beautiful artwork. There's Abby. She's upset because Abby, that's Abigail Arcane. She's the niece of Anton Arcane, and Anton Arcane is Swamp Thing's ultimate arch nemesis. And she's upset because they've declared their love for each other. Alex Holland, Swamp Thing, and Abigail Arcane are in love, but John Constantine showed up and is told Swamp Thing, there's something coming, and you need to be ready for it, and follow me. Meet me in I think it was Rosewood, Illinois. So she's like, don't go. We just basically professed our love for each other, and now you're gonna take off. And he's just like, I gotta go. So a little, not so much as a lover's tiff, but a little like, we just barely got to know you. See, he's kissing her goodbye. And here we have some kids doing what kids do, splashing around in the summertime. So as they're getting ready to part ways, because who knows how long it's going to be, what he does is he lets his body die, and then he sends like his plant essence through the green, and then picks up something where he's locating, like a piece of vegetable. In this case, it was a seed, and then he grows his body where he needs to. So it's like plant teleportation. So Rosewood, Illinois, and he's just like, what? Okay, so is he under the water? Hey, no first, but okay. So these kids are all goofing and laughing and like, oh, leeches, oh, I got a leech on my neck, and they all come running out. And look at this kid. He goes, what's with Nikki? Hey, Nikki, you hairbag, get out of the water. It's full of leeches. Hey, what's up with him? He can hear us. Hey, Nikki, come on. Nikki? And Nikki's just being creepy in the pool. Here's the kid. Look, he's taking a cigarette out and burning the leeches off of him. And this is what's going on under the water. Vampires. And I thought this was brilliant. Look at that splash page. I thought this was brilliant. So what you need to know is in the previous Martin Pascal run of Swamp Thing, and I always said that if not for Alan Moore run on Swamp Thing, we would be talking about the Martin Pascal run on Swamp Thing. It was good. He was a good writer, really solid writer. And if you watch the Swamp Thing TV show that was on CW, a lot of it comes from the Martin Pascal show. I mean, if you do Swamp Thing, you have to take Alan Moore stuff, but surprisingly, a lot of it came from Marty Pascal also. So what happened is Alan Moore, Swamp Thing, Alex Holland, Swamp Thing, years earlier, he fought a bunch of vampires in Roswell and Rosewood, rather, not Roswell, and Rosewood, and they were just all over the place. So what he did was he diverted a dam. He just used his strength and blew the dam, and the water just came, and running water kills vampires. So vampires were just destroyed. So what's going on here? It turns out some of the vampires lived, and when the water became stagnant, they flourished underwater. It's deep enough that sunlight doesn't bother them, and whenever people come in the water, they just drain them. So I find that to be really, really creepy. As if still water wasn't bad enough, leeches weren't bad enough. Now you got to worry about vampires underwater. So see there, the vampires are going back under. We got to get out of here, geez. We can't just. Oh no, there's leeches now. I can't, Ronnie. I can see them under. The people moving under the water. So look at the little blood coming out. We better go fight somebody. Listen, Nikki, we'll be right back. Down. So they grab the fat kid to the drowned town. So this is the town that was drowned by Swamp Thing. The whole town was just overrun by vampires. So welcome to Rosewood, Illinois, pride of the Midwest. So this whole town has been flooded by Swamp Thing years ago. And just look at this gorgeous artwork. Very trippy, you know. Here he is. He's reaching for he's trying to concentrate, and he finds a seed, and he grows in. And look, they instead of sleeping in coffins, they're sleeping in pinball cases in the arcade. You know, they're using them as coffins. And look, he's just growing. He remembers, and he remembers what happened in Rosewood. So just look at this. It's just scary. So he finds a seed. Oh, I took it for granted that he could teleport, but this is like only maybe the second or third time that he's done it. So he now he could do it instantaneous, but at this point it's a process. You know, he's a novice at it. So he finds a seed and he's regrowing his body. The first time he did it, it took him weeks, but now he's got it down to hours. So here he is growing. Abby, you hear what I said? And this is Abby at work now. She works at a daycare. Abby, come on. I've had a whole day of people who stare into space. It's so she works for like disturbed children, you know, handicapped children. She goes, I'm sorry, I was just thinking about somebody. Abby, sooner or later you have to face facts. Your husband's a vegetable. And of course she's thinking about Alex. Now, the reason why she said that is she's legally married to Matt Cable. And Matt Cable, he was like a tough guy. He wasn't a bad guy, but I forget how, but he ended up getting this ability, and I think like some demon possessed him, you know, and he could like alter reality, and he became corrupted, and he just became jealous and evil, and I do think it was like a demonic possession type of thing, and he was just so powerful that they just, like Swamp Thing and Abigail, they just had to like flee him, and all they could do was like prevent him from taking Abby. Like Abby was trying to leave, and he wasn't letting her leave. He kept controlling reality. So finally, I think Alex like messed up with the car, and it caused a car crash. And now Matt Holland is Matt Cable rather is his name. He's in a hospital on life support. He's been in a coma for years at this point. So she wrote off. She wanted to divorce him anyway, and now that he's in a coma, she's with Alex. So she's like, "Your husband's a vegetable." Alex, how does she know? Nobody knows. But a vegetable? What do you mean? Oh, yeah. Well, Matt, your husband in the hospital. That is who you were thinking about. All right. That I was thinking about. Sure. Abby, I know it's not easy losing someone. Oh, you could say that again. So it shows you how much consideration she even gives to her ex. The Red Tornado finally gets himself together from DC. Look at that. I remember that. I forgot all about that. So she's just daydreaming, thinking about Alex. He's gone. And here's John Constantine. John Constantine, Hellblazer, he debuted in Swamp Thing a few issues before this. And he's, you know, British tough guy. And he's like a magician, like an Aleister Crowley type magician, not like a Doctor Strange type magician. His magic is very subtle, to the point where for the first couple of years you're like, does he know magic at all, or is he just a con man? You know, depending upon the writer, he's more con man, he's more magician, you know, but he's never like wave your hand and shoot, you know, laser beams kind of magician. He's, you know, they keep it like real world magician. So here he is in the bar talking to his friends, and he feels guilty because everybody around him ends up dying. Hey Frank, who's the Fruit Loop? So there you go. So he stands up. What did you say? Oh geez, come on, Constantine. And look, tell me, that's Sting. Hey, listen, you didn't mean anything. What did you say? John, please. So it was obvious that John Constantine was modeled after Sting. When he first showed up, he was in a boat that said the Honorable Gordon Sumner, which is Sting's real name. So he just stares at this guy and just intimidates him. And then John, because Constantine's already, one of his things is he's always using people, and half the time people die, but he's not, and he feels guilty about it. And he wears that guilt around him like a cloth, and so he's always tense. He's always wound up, And then like it's time to perform, so he acts like everything's cool, And then when he's by himself, you see like this visible cloud of doom over him. So this guy's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry." And like he was holding the glass, he broke it in his hand because he's just wound tighter than a drum. Plus, he also knows what's coming, and he's got to get Swamp Thing ready for it. So he has all the blood dripping down him onto the ground, and because it's about vampires, the blood's transition the scene, and these kids like, "What happened to Nikki? What happened to Nikki?" So we got to go back. We got to go back and get Nikki. And here's the vampires under the water, mannequins, and they're putting they're taking clothes off mannequins, and they're bringing it to the mother. So this Lardo survived. When the water came, it started rushing. She was in a position where she was able to survive, like in shelter someplace. So the old thing of running water kills vampires. So she just stayed until the water stopped moving, and then when it became stagnant, she made other vampires. And they're dead. They don't need to breathe or anything like that. So she just stayed under the water, and she's just getting bigger and bigger. So other vampires, she's just so big now, she's immobile. And I do think that the Blade movie with the big fat vampire, I think they stole that from this. I think this predates that. And all the other vampires are coming and feeding her blood. And look at, they're like insects, And here Swamp Thing's finally grown up to the size, his transportation ability it's taking hours instead of weeks like it used to. And now he's half under the ground because he just grew, and he's pulling himself out of the ground. And there he is. Just what a great shot that is. This art, like I've said it before, Swamp Thing just brings out the best in the writers. So here he's just wandering off. Look, just so good. And evening, and then here comes Constantine waiting for him. Took your time getting here, didn't you? And he's always like brash and a bastard. And look at the word balloons, because for the longest time Swamp Thing's weakness was he couldn't talk, and then I guess that's difficult to sell in a comic, so they made it that he can talk, but it's difficult for him. It's slow and laborious, so they make his word balloons to Constantine. Who are you, Constantine? Why have you led me to this place? So probably even more rough. And smiling, pretending he's all right, pretending he knows everything, pretending he's he always puts up a good front, and he never gives you the answer. And Constantine, Swamp Thing just can't stand him. He just makes his skin crawl, but he knows he knows he's a liar. He knows he's a con man. He knows he's a user, but he also knows that he's right. That Swamp Thing has to learn how to use his ability. Even he knows something is coming. So he's like, okay, I brought you to Rosewood, and battle droids, a game of armored cavalry. I think this is a role-playing game. So now little kid's looking for his buddy. Not all of them are jerks. Some of them actually care about each other, and he's looking for Nikki. And so how could this? What's going on? Nikki, I came back just like I said, Nikki. And vampires have one disadvantage: they're useless in daylight. Any gathering them attracts attention with men in stakes to let air into their bodies. That's why we've never had organized vampire settlements until now. Hello, Howard. Now here's Nikki. They're living down there in Rosewood, totally unmolested, having a stable community, has opened up lots of opportunities for them. They could settle down after years of hiding. They could breed. So he's like, oh man, we were scared. We thought you were dead. Because, why? After 2 years? Because they could feel something in the air. So everybody knows something is coming, and it's even got the vampires stirred. Geez, Nikki, you better find your clothes. You're freezing. Not yet. I want to swim again. You're crazy. It's late. We got to go home. First, come on, Howard. Come to the water. So we're not on our own. And here comes the other vampires out of the water. Of course, poor kid. No good deed goes unpunished. He went to go save his friend, and now the vampire. Oh, God, Nikki, no. And here's the big fat one. They're carrying her. They're dragging him underwater. Look at her. She's not even like human shaped anymore. At least vampires are human shaped. Nikki, no. Oh, that's right too. In the original vampires, they were all like classic, like late 70s stereotypical punk rockers. Sid Lives. They all had mohawks and stuff like that. So they were just classic vampire mohawk punk rockers. It was fun. So here he's, they're discussing, and Constantine's always smoking. They've made the final sacrifice. Like salmon after spawning, they thresh weekly, decaying even in life. So here he's like, you evade my question. This game you play is dangerous. What was the question? I did not come here for warnings of Armageddon. You promised me knowledge about myself. He goes, first you take care of business, then we could talk. And then he's just contemplating, and he's like, damn it, if there's vampires here. And he's like, it is my fault. So here, the big fat one is actually laying eggs, so she mutated. Well, and look, the eggs are spawning. And, oh, next issue they show them. Oh, man. So he lets them go, and Swamp Thing goes into the water. He doesn't need to breathe either. He's a vegetable. There. Now we're both in over our heads. So again, when he's by himself and he has nobody to impress, he lets it out. So the next issue, I want to show it, but I guess in another video I'll show the part 2. But the vampires mutated. The big fat one, she just allowed herself to accumulate enough power and enough blood that she mutated herself, and they're like fish vampires, and with big spiky teeth, and it's really freaking cool. So let's look at the names of the letters. Oh, Swamp Things is the name of the letters page. That's Boyd White, Perry Biter, T.M. Maple, the Mad Maple. He was a Canadian from and he just called himself the Mad Maple, and they shortened it to T.M. Maple. He was a letter hack around this time in the mid '80s. Every comic, to the point where whenever a new comic was coming up, they would mail it to him, like Marvel and DC. They would mail him just so that they could have letters, because he wrote really good letters, and he always the legend has it that he owned a comic book store, and he just read comics all day long, and then every time he read a comic, he wrote a letter. Every comic he read, he wrote a letter, and he is the biggest letter hack that I could think of. And supposedly he had a heart attack and dropped dead in the 90s. Batman and the Outsiders. I love these toys. I love these toys, and I did something stupid. I packed them up, put them in a box, gave them to my nephew, who promptly threw them away. But here you go. This isn't even the best. This is every comic in this. If you see Alan Moore on Swamp Thing, go from 19 to like 64 of Swamp Thing. Every issue is a gem. I reread these over and over again, and you could see how good condition it was. Even this is the one I actually bought when it came out, and I just knew it was something else, and I treated it like that. So just so good. I kind of goofed because I thought this showed what the vampire fish look like. So I'll showcase the next issue also. But so good. Yeah, tomorrow I'll do the 2 series. I'll do. I don't usually like to do that, but I'll do that because the whole reason for showing this issue was to show the fish vampires. But yeah, so again, John Constantine is leading Swamp Thing around the world with promises that of revealing secrets. And every time he does a mission, it's like a dog. He throws a treat to him, gives him. But because each mission he goes on, Swamp Thing learns a little bit about his abilities that he didn't know before. So he realizes that Constantine, A, is giving him information that he needs. B, he's doing good deeds. Swamp Thing saved people by killing off vampires, but he also created a situation where this fat lardo could amass enough power to become like a new type of aquatic vampire. So he's righting wrongs that Swamp Thing himself has created. Oh, such a good American Gothic. That's the name of this run. He goes all over America doing all these things. So it's a series of Monster of the Week that all ties into the big bad, like to paraphrase Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So good. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be showcasing more of these Swamp Things now that I organized my comic book collection. I spent all week, every day, hours. It was more messed up than I thought. When I moved, I don't know what the movers did, or maybe I did it, but I the box lids all had numbers on them, and I put them all in number order, and I thought I was done until I went to find the comics, and it was just, each box itself was in order, within the box, but then, it was Q, A, Z, whatever, and it made no sense whatsoever. So now it's all organized. I can find any comic book I want. So there we go. So now I'll be finding. So I've been stumbling upon comics and showcasing them. Now I could zero in and get the actual comics that I want. So thanks a lot. You don't, but whatever. Just laughing because I'm explaining something I didn't need to explain. But there you go. Wonderful series. Get this. There's a series of trade paperbacks you can get. Recommend it. You will. I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're watching this. I don't know if you stumbled across it, but you will like these comics, and that's one thing that I know is true. Thanks a lot. See you around. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and I appreciate that you took your time to listen to me talk about these wonderful, wonderful comics. Thank you. Bye-bye.